Go ahead, sir.
Zoning Board of Review. I feel privileged to address you on this matter.
Name and address, please.
Oh, my name is Halsey. I better spell it for you. Halsey, and last name is Herrishoff. Herreshoff. And I live at 125 Oak Street in Bristol. About 40 years ago, the town sought advice for its precious New England waterfront, one of the finest in all of New England. And the Suzuki report that came through was in effect a combination of suggestion and warning about what might happen to ruin that waterfront. And in effect, from 40 years ago, it was a challenge to the town to protect and improve and build a waterfront that could, for generations to come, be a source of practicality, pleasure, and pride in Bristol. And we have a town generally of immense pride. We've seen the 4th of July events in the last few days, and we've seen the wonderful spirit of Bristol, that they want things to be right. Well, now, what's happened since that Suzuki report? A lot has. We took a broken down train yard and turned it into a magnificent park, Independence Park, which fits our independent spirit and the joy of Bristolians in the town. We built a boardwalk that I went on a walk with his friends a couple of days ago in the evening. And the last element of that has just been built this particular year. We saw the conversion of a broken down lumber yard by a new Bristolian of a very practical and modest hotel and restaurant. And that has been a joy because it's preserved the very special DeWolf Counting House with its long history of almost 2 centuries. And lately, the town council has allowed the protection and improvement of the 2 historic buildings, which are a joy to see being done as they have been preserved. And the town had purchased the Prudence Island Dock, which is part of our history of ferries coming here from Prudence and so forth. And a lot of work is going on to fix that. We completely renovated and made good the Rockwell Park. And the fire department has put a very, very satisfactory symbol of their importance and duration in what they did next to the Prudence Dock. This has all been done with a sense of history, a sense of need, a compassion to the wishes of Bristol citizens. And it's all been done with a sense of scale and proportion. I'm not a building architect, but I am an architect of boats. And the successful ones are done with care and modesty. So I so much agree with much of what has come out this evening by the good speakers before, in saying that I consider this onslaught of a huge 170-foot building way beyond the height minimum, and 14 requests for violation or change of what our zoning would require. I recall at the conclusion of one of these meetings that we've all been to, that at the end of it, one of the lawyers for the petitioner made the remark that in the case of one of these variances sought, there was a precedent from an unrelated but different project back along. And he said, that means we should get our variance on the basis of that. So what's going to happen if we were to say, okay, if we were to give you 14 variances, are we going to have Tom, Dick, and Harry and all kinds of people coming to the zoning board repeatedly and say, well, in 2019, that variance was okay and I want the same thing. In 2019, that variance was okay and I want the same thing. What is proposed, if we should, in my view, make the mistake of approving all this, what is proposed is a total shattering of a carefully drawn system of provisions which protect this town. Some of you know that I've served the town now for almost 4 decades, much of it in elective office, and I've seen the fine-tuning of our zoning positions, carefully drawn, debated, chosen, not to hurt people with legitimate projects like the 2 structures just put up, but to protect the town from going to something excessive and impossible. And these illustrations this evening of how it blocks the view from uptown, how it dominates, and it fills me with horror if we should ever do such a thing. I want us to protect our waterfront, retain its ambience, its beauty. It's not perfect, and maybe that's one of the reasons it's so good, that it's different, it's varied, but it's all modest, it's all sensible, and it's all what we're proud of. So I beg of you, please, please, do not grant these variances which would destroy our zoning system. Please, please, do not allow this horrible intrusion on the beautiful and modest aspect of New England's now greatest waterfront area. I beg of you to think of the Bristol citizens. People have come forward over and over again on the city streets and the post office everywhere objecting to this. Lots of articles in the Phoenix, and these wonderful representatives of our citizens here tonight, I think, tell you this must not be approved. And I just pray that it will not be. Thank you very much.